For joining us today. My name is Vicki Townsend, and I'm the founder and president of Divorce Right. And we provide training for HR professionals and company supervisors, and we provide divorce coaching and case management, providing guidance and directions that your divorcing employees so desperately need. And I want to introduce you to my amazing friend, Paulette Rigo. Paulette is a certified divorce coach, a certified divorce specialist, a credentialed mediator, and the director of coaching and case management here at Divorce Right. And together, we tackle the biggest disruptor in your company, and that is divorce. And as a reminder for those that are SHRM members, we have SHRM credits for you each and every week. And we post a link to that at the end of the broadcast so that you can go straight there and fill out that form and get your credits. And today we're going to be talking about our divorce benefits for your employees so that you can learn a little bit about what we do and how this is an absolutely must have for your employees. So today we're going to be talking about our divorce benefit called Plan Right, your Better Divorce Blueprint. And it's our product that consists of a book, a workbook, and a 10-hour plus course that your employee can take. And we provide weekly group coaching calls where your employees can go for answers, direction, and guidance. So, Paulette, you created your Better Divorce Blueprint for us. Let's talk about why this is a valuable resource and benefit for employers and their employees. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it's an 8-module jam-packed course that gives employees an opportunity to learn about this labyrinthine system that they're forced to go through, but you make it so that at the end they go, I've got a plan in place. I've got my blueprint. So why don't you tell us about what's in the course and why this is a good thing for employees?
I would be honored. Where do I start? So this all happened because of my years of not only my own personal experience of having walked through the trenches of everything divorce, but also professionally having worked with hundreds of clients and couples, whether I was mediating a case for a couple or I was working with one of the parties, helping them get through it. And I found myself repeating myself over and over again, naturally, which I didn't mind doing, but it takes time and time is valuable. And I want to respect everyone's time and energy because it isn't just the time and the money. Divorce takes a lot out of you. It drains you and it makes you feel completely overwhelmed and stressed, which of course leads to poor performance, poor productivity, and poor decision making. So I eventually got a big stack of notes and culled it all together in one, I wouldn't say neat little pile, but it eventually became a neat little pile. And I broke it down into 3 sections. I named it Better Divorce Blueprint because that's what I felt I needed. I needed a map, a blueprint, a GPS, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, to light the way and give me an idea of what I was about to embark on. And so that I could also guide others about the overall process clearly and efficiently. I find as soon as people have a map and a plan, their anxiety cuts in half immediately. I always ask everyone after I've spent, a little bit of time with them, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe more on a consultation or an assessment, after I answer their questions, how do you feel? And if I'm in person with them, their face is different, like years melt off their face, their shoulders relax, they're breathing slower, they don't look like this.
Yeah,
The deer in the headlight
right?
look.
What is that? A deer in headlights,
Yeah,
right?
because they come in like shaking, nervous. They hug me like this, and usually by the end of it, I get the hug that they don't want to let go. So and they always say something like, "I feel so much better."
Well,
I
you and I talked yesterday, which was, I thought a really valuable conversation about uncertainty.
Mhm.
Divorce is uncertainty, and you can't have
Mm.
any, you know, balance in your life if everything is chaos and conflict without the actual certainty of where to go. And that's what I love about, this course, is that it gives them direction and guidance, and to your point, the plan that everybody needs. And what I love the most, and we'll talk about it in a second, but what I love the most is that it doesn't give me uh, a plan that's right for everybody else. It's the plan that's right for me and for my family, right?
Mhm.
For your
Sure.
employee and their family. So, it may not be what I would choose. It may not
Right.
be the right choice for me. But
Mhm.
but I will design using this course, I will end up with a plan with certainty around what I need to do to get it done, and to your point, have a blueprint in place that they can follow and
Mhm.
build the rest of their life. So why don't you take us through, like, what some of the chapters are, and some of the things that everybody that would learn from it.
Sure. I broke it down into the three sections as I mentioned earlier. And the first section is before. There the planning. The second section naturally is during the being in the process of it, engaging in the process of divorce. And naturally, the third section is after, because we think that when we walk out of the courthouse and we've got our little paper, we're done. And unfortunately, that isn't always the case. So at the very beginning, I like to map out immediately the thought process, because that's how divorce starts, with where are you, what are you thinking about, what are those ruminating thoughts, or what is your spouse thinking. It isn't always the person that is reading the book or taking the course, or the employee that is now faced with this decision where it's coming from them. Sometimes it's coming from their spouse, right? And sometimes it's mutual. Both parties are in fact saying, we need to have a discussion about our marriage. So, whatever direction it's coming from, it's the thoughts that create the emotions, the feelings, and the actions. So, there's a lot to take into consideration right away with chapter one, knowing that it isn't one choice or one decision. You have to understand all the different aspects. So, right away, it's your thought process. We break down the top 21 reasons couples divorce. And if you have 21 of them, naturally, divorce is probably a good option. If you only have two or three, then maybe therapy or coaching or counseling or whatever, based on the situation, could be enough to consider. Is the marriage salvageable? Is it savable? Right? Because I never throw in the towel unless both parties are coming to me saying, we need a solution. We're not going to consider any other conversation other than how to move forward with divorce. So then we step into the feelings, because many people push them aside. And that's brave, and the brain working with the amygdala and survival and all. But if you really are not processing the emotions, it's going to lead to bad decision making. And typically, one party will get very adversarial. They'll throw in the towel, and they'll have other mistakes that they make because they haven't been allowed, or they haven't allowed themselves to really feel the emotions and the stages of grief. Deciding what you want. What is the outcome that you're looking for? What are the possible options? Many people don't know that there are 5 methods of divorce and the things that the courts are concerned about. Taking responsibility for yourself, knowing all the deal breakers, and there are 31 of them. How to protect and prepare yourself. It's very important, not only physically, but also financially and emotionally, protecting yourself from the journey. And how do you go about doing that? And understanding that doing less and feeling more in the early stages is better. Many people do more and feel less, but it's the opposite. Really slowing down enough, maybe driving 55 and not 90 on the highway. Many people tend to just go, 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 and they overschedule to avoid the emotions. Avoidance and escapism can lead to bad decisions. So, chapter one, module one, is all about that initial thought process. Then we jump into fact gathering. Module two, it is an understanding of an organizational process, how to honor your values. What are your core values? How to tell the children, what to tell the children, what not to tell the children, how to decide what's right for you as a process and an outcome, and reverse engineering that so that you know where you want to be and live and look back at this process with no regret 2 years, 3 years, excuse me, 5 years down the road. Regret is a terrible thing. So if you can really know what you want in the end, chances are much better that you'll be able to get there. How to end a marriage, how to mitigate outside influences like family, coworkers, bosses, neighbors, friends, family. It's a long list. Some people have your best interest at heart. Maybe some people don't. Everybody comes to divorce with their own memories and, dare we say, steamer trunks full of baggage. Maybe they're just tiny little ones, but making sure that your decisions are your decisions and that you're not making decisions based on your outside influences. And then the next thing that we do is practicing mindfulness so that you're truly aware of the different parts of the brain and how we make decisions, so that we're aware of our outside stimulus, our memory, our attachment to labels, and then being able to discern and reason and take control of the process. It helps you work better and it helps people stay on task. Even at work, if you have a pile of things to do and you can't prioritize them, you're going to have 15 unfinished projects. Whereas if you can delineate them and prioritize them, and chances are you're going to succeed a lot better. In chapter three, we go into not being over prepared, because there's no such thing in divorce. Being really organized. Ignorance is not bliss in this case. What's the expression? Ignorance is bliss. Not in divorce, it's not. You've got to gather your facts and your documentation and your evidence. That may just be both parties filling out a domestic relations financial affidavit, but it could be a lot more than that. So what does that look like for you and your situation? The importance of a budget, lawyer speak, all that Latin that you hear that, like, what did they just say? What is a deposition, an affidavit, all those things that you just don't hear that in common everyday speak, right? How to choose your advocates, how to choose the professionals that you may need or may not need, and being organized, having a planner, a calendar, and a journal. And being really prepared for the steps forward, which would, of course, be engaging in the process itself. So we jump into module 4, where you only have you to take care of you. Just like when you're on that plane, they say, put on your oxygen mask first. Not that you want your children to pass out, but if you put theirs on and you're, in a coma, well, it's going to be really hard to take care of other people. So there is that sense of letting the wellness journey begin early so that you are sleeping, eating, showing up on time, having your wits about you, that you feel, even though you're, living in a different state of energy, and you have a to-do list that didn't resemble anything in the past, you now have a clear idea of how to build a routine based on getting through this. Managing stress, communicating with family and friends, that can be tricky. Caring for yourself, we mentioned, nurturing your soul, being creative, and understanding the engagement process could take some time. The average divorce is litigated 8 months to 2 years now. So be careful. Most people think, oh, can I get this done in 30 days? Well, it depends is the answer. Then we jump into module 5, where we really get familiar with the process itself, knowing the laws. And of course, we live in a country of 50 little states, which have 50 little laws and 50 little different processes. And yes, there is some significant overlap, but they're all very different. So making sure that you know the law in your state and the nuances of your county, even how to find the right family law attorney if you need one to represent you in litigation or through a mediated process. You can also consider collaborative and arbitration. Mental health practitioners, financial experts, real estate experts, mortgage experts, insurance, taxes, etc. It's a big Rolodex of experts that you need to have as part of your team. I like to call it building your A team. Showing my age, but your A team is important. You
Yeah.
may only need 2 people, but I know some people that need 10 or more.
Yeah, that the more complex, the more complicated your assets are, your joined assets, the more of those professionals that you do need. And one of the things that people don't really think about are tax implications of a lot of this. So it's
Huge
really important, right?
ramifications, taxes. Yes, and a lot of the decision about who you need to help you has to do with how long have you been married, how many children you have, are they emancipated of the age of majority, or are they still minors? Do you have a business entity together or more? Are you 1099? Are you W-2? Are your finances transparent? Do you share your taxes? Do you file jointly or independently, which could have a lot to do with it? Is alimony or spousal support a consideration? Do you have significant debt? Is there animosity, addiction, abuse? I could keep going. But
Right.
based on all the criteria and facts of your particular marriage could mean the complexity of your divorce case. Therefore, the more complex, the more professionals you may need to put on the table. So, then next one is 6, all about the kids. Child-centered, lasting impressions, custody, parenting plans, understanding the difference between parenting, parallel parenting, co-parenting, and counter-parenting, how to support the kids. What is child support? Why does it exist? The child support calculators and worksheets in each state are quite different too. Spousal support, we mentioned, the waiting game, estrangement, parent alienation. Understanding the whole complexity of the family unit is the focus of chapter 6. Then we get into chapter and module 7, which is slowly starting to get out of the rebuilding phase of redefining self. Who are you? And what do you want your future to look like? Your career, where you're living, how you want to look back at this experience. And stepping off the spinning wheel of reliving the story and ruminating about it, where you can start to reconnect and reevaluate yourself with who you want to be moving forward in the future. Exploring your possibilities, making room for the new. That's a whole new concept to people. Dating in the digital age, understanding that it's a new life, which also feels like a liberating freedom, but to some it feels like a failure. But ultimately, it's a responsibility and taking ownership and responsibility to create your future because it's yours to create. No one is going to do it for you. And that includes your success with your work, your finances, your family, your children, all of the different aspects of your life that you need to now take ownership for. You are an independent person. And yes, you still have family and some of your old life will come forward with you, but it's a whole new brave world that you have to step into, understanding yourself. And finally, in chapter module 8, creating a financial future, to name change or not to name change. That's a whole new topic too. Goal setting, new love. What does that look like? When to introduce a new love to the children? Maybe when not to. The power of healing, which is a big factor. Some people heal like that. Others take years. And understanding what's right for you and celebrating even the tiniest little successes. And I believe that there's no mistakes, only lesson. And knowing that it is a journey. The average amount of time that I coach people through litigated cases is about 18 months. That's the average, sometimes less, sometimes more. So you can see why having a blueprint a map and a road to move forward can eliminate so much of the fear and the uncertainty, because now you can say, go to page 245, and the book and the course can be earmarked to, where exactly are you in your journey? Because it's going to be different for everyone. It's not linear.
No,
Sometimes we
never
take
linear.
steps forward and a step back. Sometimes we take a step forward and two steps back. And
Right.
that's okay. As long as you feel like you're not stuck and you're not trapped, and you're slowly starting to build your courage muscles, and you're able to feel heard, and you're making some progress, even if it is at a snail's pace, and you're following that roadmap, and you have accountability, you have a support system of the right professionals and experts. And that's why we do the coaching calls too. Everybody needs a friend and an accountability partner and a dare I call it a divorce buddy, but you need somebody that's sacred, that is going to keep your private stuff private. This isn't something you want to talk about at the water cooler at work. And you're
Right.
going to need somebody that will honor and hold your emotions and your experience private and sacred, because it really is.
Yeah. We have somebody that sent in, so I guess that maybe they came in halfway into this and they're like,
Mm.
what does this have to do with HR problems? What does parent
Mm.
alienation have to do with this, or dating? So I want to make sure that people understand that this is a benefit for your employees that are going through them, to help them go through. And this person says that
I love
it
this
was,
question.
or her was uh, why is snail's pace okay? A snail's pace is not. It's everybody's is different, right? The average.
Mm. Well,
This
I'm
person
happy to answer.
2 to 3
As I
hours. It sounds like
mentioned,
you had it sounds like that this person right here had a very, very amicable, right, split. And that's wonderful.
right.
Um, Congratulations. And that's awesome. Mine was I had two of them. Both of them were 3 years. Um, and so it depends upon what kind of assets are involved, but more importantly, what kind of relationship you have and how you process what happened in your marriage. Because a lot of times betrayal, I think, would you say betrayal is the number one cause of throwing a divorce into a crazy long-term litigated case?
To answer this person's question, and thank you, I love this question. 18 months, yeah, that is the average amount of time. Now, I do work with some people for 3 sessions. So, I mean, and I'm actually not a session person because I'm not a clock watcher and I don't charge hourly, nor it just isn't the model that feels authentic to me. So, I work with people for an hour. If that's all they need me for, that's fine. In fact, I'm the one professional in the world that never wants a return client, right? Mediation, there's many different forms of mediation. So there's court appointed, where it's part of the mediation, the litigation process.
Mhm.
And then there's private mediation with attorneys present and private mediation without attorneys present. That does not mean that those clients should not be represented by attorneys. It just means that they're not there during the conversation to add more fuel to the fire. So if you've been married a short period of time and your finances are rather transparent, absolutely, I can get through mediation in 2 or 3 hours, not a problem. I do it all the time, so it's quite common.
That's okay. All of them are different. I mean,
Very, very
all of
different,
them are
right?
different. And
Right.
to say that there's necessarily a recipe that can be followed for every divorce, I think is not always realistic. I'd love to think that that was
Mhm.
the case, but
Right.
there are extenuating circumstances that are beyond, I've got a friend that's on Dateline with that there was a murder for hire involved in hers, or a prearranged marriage where her mother threatened to drink acid if she divorced her husband. So she stayed for another 4 years. I
Right.
mean, there are extenuating circumstances with everything, and God love you for being able to mediate cases, in 2 to 4 hours. And I would have loved that to have been my answer. But
Well, it also depends on.
I think you also have to emotionally be there to make that leap and to do it
Sure.
quickly. And I probably wasn't there. I was a big old mess. I was a big old
Well,
mess.
Vicki, most people are. Don't feel, like you're a unicorn there. So, betrayal. So, to answer your question, I don't know that it's necessarily betrayal. The word I think that typically conflict in general, it would be the reason why it can keep dragging on, but also just control. Whether the playing field is not level. One
Mm,
person has the information, one person doesn't. One person is vocal and the other isn't. One feels controlled and manipulated. One feels fearful. And they just don't have the courage, the personality, the confidence to move forward and understand that you do have to learn to speak up. And if you don't have an advocate that's there for you, either an attorney, a fiduciary, and many, many other reasons, of course, in this short LinkedIn Live that Vicki and I like to do each week, we can tackle all these questions, my dear. So it is, in my opinion, being in the trenches with people going through all things divorce, whether they're DIYing different forms of mediation, collaborative, arbitration, and litigation, all the way to trials and appeals. Naturally, if you're in a trial and an appeal, there's no way that you can mediate a case in 2 to 4 sessions for 3 hours. So you have to understand that the sessions are going to be highly different based on how contentious the case is. In the world of what we do and the solution we provide here at Divorce Right, we understand that it isn't HR's problem to worry about dating or to worry about all the other things we brought up, or why we discuss in the plan to educate the employees about what divorce looks like, how to get through it with dignity and grace and wisdom. It's so that the HR professionals understand that this isn't their expertise, right? Their expertise is human resource, not how to solve an employee's divorce. But if they have a answer, if they have a solution, if they have a tool and a reason for that employee to stay employed so they don't quit and they don't sit at their computer in tears or anxiety because they have to just pretend everything's okay, even though they have to sneak out to go pick up their kid, they now feel empowered and the uncertainty lessens.
Yeah, the uncertainty is what has them up here. So what having this plan gives them is a sense of certainty and understanding that they have their plan that they can follow. If mediation, which by the way, we love mediation, Paulette's a mediator. A lot of us here at Divorce Right are mediators as well. So we're big believers in mediation. We're big believers in the collaborative process. We try and keep people from, losing their finances and their sanity through a process that can destroy people just from that uncertainty. So when they have a plan in place to this person, I don't know how many people have been talking to us today, but by giving them an opportunity to just take a breath, what's in it for the HR? They get an employee that is calmer, out of craziness, out of their head up here, down so that they can take a breath and they know which direction to move into. And then we can help them and keep them on task with our group coaching calls on a weekly basis so that we can answer any questions that they have. And we don't offer legal advice, but we do provide guidance and direction. So I am so excited that we had this conversation today, because this is a benefit to your employee that provides you with an employee that is now down here and can breathe and come to work as a fully engaged team member, right? Somebody that is happy and has, some hope for their future, and can design and can see their life, what it can look like 3-5 years down the road. And they see a wonderful picture that they can paint for themselves. That's our goal, is to get your employee back on track, out of their own spinning head, so that they can take a breath and provide the productivity that they need to be as a productive team member. So I hope that answers any questions. Thank you for those, all of those comments that we got today. We love that. And Paulette, thank you so much for doing this with us today. And I'm so grateful that you have created this. It's an amazing opportunity. If there is anybody out there that would like to speak to us personally, please email us. And I will, first I'm going to show you all the link to get your SHRM credits. So that should come up. If you need your SHRM credits, please click on that link below. And if you need to get in touch with us, if you'd just like to schedule a 15-minute call, please reach out to me. My email address is Vicki, and I'm Vicki with a Y, at divorcerightinc.com. And I'm so happy to have the conversation about how we can help your employees as they move through the most difficult time in their life that impacts your business. We've all been saying, divorce is not my business. My employee's divorce is not my business, but it is your business. It impacts your bottom line. So we want to help. This is such a win-win, Paulette, right? The HR training, the employee training, so that they can understand what the critical decisions that they have to make, gives them that opportunity to take a breath. So thank you, my friend. We will see you next week on one of our LinkedIn Lives, where we provide HR managers and company supervisors with information on how you can provide the right resources for your employees as they go through one of the most traumatic events of their life. So thank you so much, Paulette, and we'll see you all next week. Bye for now.